Great. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the zoning board meeting. We are going to start off tonight by approving last month's minutes from the meeting that was held on May 23rd. They have been distributed and everybody's gotten a chance to take a look. So I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
And we'll start with you, John.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
All right, they are approved. So let's get going to our first matter tonight, first of the new matters, which is Blum at 7 Irving Place.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. I am Christopher Wojcik, and I'm an associate at Renee Byers Landscape Architect. And we are simply stating to extend our Zoning Board of Appeals application that was approved on June 26th of 2022. Nothing has changed, and we unfortunately ran into contractor availability issues along with financial constraints during this time.
Okay, but nothing's changed. There are no changes at all.
Nothing.
All right. Does anybody have any questions about the application? All right, well, seeing as nothing has changed, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Artie, we'll start with you.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, you are approved. And in
Excellent.
record.
Thank you so much.
You got it. Thank you. Okay, so the next matter before us is Irvington Presbyterian Church, 25 North Broadway.
Okay,
Hello?
can you see me?
Yes, hi.
You
How
hear
are
me?
you? We
Steve,
can see you and hear you.
pardon me?
We can see you and hear you, so we are good.
Great, okay. I'm Steve Sudak from Stephen Tilley's Architects in Dobbs Ferry. And we are here referred to you from the planning board. We need we're seeking a variance for site coverage. Owing to the fact that we are constructing an accessible path through the church property in order to connect the church parking lot, existing parking lot, the lower field, and the two existing play areas that are both being redone with new equipment. I can show you, let me bring up, I presume you want to see the plan and the maybe the photographs?
Yep, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, let me see if I can do that here. Okay. We don't need that anymore. One second. So you're seeing the
And so
plan there?
Yep, the variance you're looking for is for a coverage variance.
Coverage, yes.
And is that just for the path or is that also for the playground? What exactly are we dealing with tonight?
Well, it is really because the existing playgrounds, like I said, they pre-exist. They are covered in wood chips, and they're going to still be covered in a form of wood chip. but it's loose material. But
Okay.
mainly what we are building is, I'll flip to the next page, which will show you. Oop. So if I go down here, this is existing coverage on the
Okay.
lot. And this is the existing playground. This is the other second existing playground area. And right now it's just a kind of a cascading wood chipped sort of, not even a path. It's just an area strewn with wood chips that runs down into this. And then this area down here is highly distressed concrete, and I'm sorry, asphalt. What I'm going to do is pull up my photos. So I'll skip to that part. If you go all the way back through the site from Broadway, proceeding, oops, sorry. Oop. Going down all the way through down this driveway into the back parking area. That's where everything begins,
Okay.
at that back parking area. At this gate, you go through the gate, you're in the parking area. This right here, there's at the north end of that parking lot, there's a gap in the gate in the fencing that starts you down the path towards where there now is just this wood chipped area. And right behind these fences here is the first playground area. So our first path brings us from this point down the hill. Here I'm looking back up the hill again, down to a relatively level spot here where I then cross over and get into that first playground, which is there. Same fenced area. It'll just be new equipment in that area.
Okay.
But then turn north. We're going to move this fence to the left, to the west. And our path is going to continue and start to swing towards these trees. And at that point, the path becomes a boardwalk to elevate it over the existing terrain, to elevate it over the tree roots, and to keep it out of any present or future tree roots in that zone before it starts to then swing back into the site. Just at this point, it starts to swing in, and this line of trees here is actually this line of trees. So we're now almost down to the second plateau, as it were. That's where the larger playground will go. That's here. You're seeing the back of an existing shed back here, a concrete shed. You're seeing the back of the school here, the back of the parish house or here. Our path will continue along the brow of this hill. Shows up better in the next two photos here. It will swing across, traversing this sloped area. And down in the shadows here, this next photo shows what's now here. This is really distressed asphalt. There's remnants of curbs and bricks. There's a matting down on this is all going to go away and be nice, uniformly 5 foot wide asphalt from the school right over to here to the threshold of this shed, at which point we'll transition to the stone dust, which is what basically the rest of our paths are made of. We were trying to tread lightly, so to speak, on the site. We're trying to create a kind of a woodland path, but an accessible path nevertheless, which needs to have some resilience to it. So that would be this segment here. Again, the asphalt section, much reduced in area and cleaned up. And then this is our new uniformly 5 foot wide stone dust path. Here, as it approaches the woods, it transitions into a boardwalk. So the site continues, the contours continue underneath here. Water can continue to move through here and so forth. There's no disturbance in this area. And it picks up again here as a path, one spur path leading over to the toddler play area. This is the preschool play area. This is the toddler area. And then back up to our, to this parking area. What this effectively does is it effectively makes the entire site now in one swoop accessible. It makes the playgrounds accessible. It also gives access from this parking lot at the rear all the way back down to the lower yard area down here. So, yep.
Can you talk to us about your coverage numbers?
Yes, yeah. So that's given on here. Whoop. These sheets are easier to flip as paper. Okay, here we go. So essentially, I broke it into 3 classes of coverage. There's building coverage, existing buildings that are remaining. No buildings are being changed. There's paths that are not being changed. That's these areas in here, and to some extent, pieces out here. There's this existing garden out in the back that has pathways. There's parking, which counts as coverage. So that's these shaded areas in the drive zones. The drive zones are excluded. We're adding neither parking nor driveways.
Right.
And then there's what I call the areas that are being reduced or changed. And that's this central area here, where we are taking this shape of coverage, asphalt, brick, concrete, and we are turning that back into, we're actually reducing that. And then there's the new coverage, which is the new paths. So I broke it out like so.
I appreciate the salesmanship, but why don't you just give me the number straight?
Right. Okay.
So
Existing buildings.
how much coverage is there? Yeah. Okay.
Well, coming right to the chase, we are adding a total of 850 square feet of coverage on this site, which is 148,570 square feet. So it's 0.6% of the total lot area that we're adding in terms of new coverage that's not there. And this is the breakdown. The existing buildings, no change. The existing parking, no change. Existing walks to remain, no change. Existing walks to be removed and then put back, we have a net reduction of 0.4%. And then the new paths added 0.4%. So we're, in the end, adding 0.66% of area to the.
And would that bring you over existing?
Mhm.
Where would that bring? But how much are you over?
We are over by,
How much are you over allowable? Sorry, not existing, but allowable.
well, allowable is 7%. We are currently, well, to back up, that's the issue, is that this is in the OF, or the residential zone.
Right.
And it's an existing non-conforming condition. This is the church in there. So I had to follow the coverage for the 1F20 zone, which
Right.
was 7%. Now we were at something like, it's here, 21%.
Right. And now you're going up to a little over 22. Is that right?
Yes, 22.2.
All right. Anybody else have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I mean, obviously you're way over coverage, which is something I expected seeing this application. And we do have to, just have our arms around what we are approving, which is why I wanted to know the number specifically, but there's nothing that you can reduce from my point of view on this property. And I think that the path you want to put in is really a great improvement to the property, makes it more accessible to people who have troubles with mobility, things like that, kids, teachers, everybody. So for those reasons, I'm going to make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, John,
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
And I would just note that
Oh.
it's at grade, which is a lot different than
which is a big
building
difference.
a
Yes.
structure or a building. So,
I agree.
that's a big thing as well. So
Yeah.
I approve this as well.
Super. Thank you so much. You are approved.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have Pieri? 7 Bertha Place?
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I'm Brandon Stewart, representing Michael Lewis Architects and the owners at 7 Bertha Place, Danae and Jim Pieri. And I believe Danae is here with us as well. She might be calling in, so she might pop in as well. And we are here presenting 2 additions onto this house. One is towards the south over here in blue. You can see my screen now, correct?
Yes, we can. Yep.
Okay. So the sunroom, there's a sunroom addition over here on the south and a kitchen addition on the north. And here you can see how those look on the overall context of the size of the lot. We are here because of 2 variances dealing with coverage and setback issue, and then 2 variances dealing with the legalization of a portion of the driveway in the Croton buffer, the Croton Aqueduct Trail buffer that predates the owners that we're seeking to legalize. So first, we'll look at the setback issue. So if we look at the site plan here, here's the house. So Bertha Place runs down here at the bottom of the screen. So this is the front of the house. And over here, you can see the kitchen addition, about a little bit over half of it falls over the line into the required side yard. And this dark green line is the setback line. And we can see that the extension comes out towards the front of the house, about 4'5" towards the street. And so it doesn't actually decrease the existing non-conforming setback, which is 7.4 feet, but nevertheless, it falls over the line for a little bit more than half of it. So that's the setback variance that's being sought there. The sunroom is fully compliant with regards to setbacks. And then just looking back at this diagram, you can see that it's a bit of a struggle here. We have just the way that the house sits on the lot and the way that the neighboring houses still provide quite a bit of regular spacing on either side of us, but it just so happens that our lot line is really close to the house there. And of course, we have Mr. Dimling knows the situation very well right here to the north of us. So this was just trying to illustrate the relative distance between the structures right there along that side of Bertha Place. So now if we move up to looking at the coverage situation, we also understand well the issues and the struggles with the coverage, existing non-conforming coverage in this neighborhood. We've actually done 2 other projects on Bertha Place that both started out also existing non-conforming with regards to coverage that we had to grapple with. And so in our case, the intent was to build onto some already paved areas with both of these additions, and then remove some portions of existing coverage on the site in order to show a net decrease in coverage. So that was what we kind of set out to do. You can see in this photograph number 5, this is showing the little L-shaped crux where the kitchen addition is bumping out. And so you can see that it's an existing impervious window well. The kitchen addition gobbles up more than just that window well, but generally we try to expand there instead of expanding the kitchen to the north where there's less existing coverage. And then in terms of the sunroom expansion, there's an existing stone patio out there, and the sunroom is expanding out over what was previously coverage. And then finally, the major portion of existing coverage that we planned to remove was this patio here that you'll see on the site plan sits next to the garage. And so during the planning board, though, we were informed that this stone patio was not ever documented. So we revised our numbers so that we weren't giving ourselves credit for removing this patio. So this means that the variance that we're seeking is larger than we thought it was going to need to be because of this being brought to our attention that this had not been documented impervious surface. And then lastly, the variances that revolve around the driveway in the Croton buffer. If you look at this photograph number 3, you can see this little curved, this nose of the driveway. I'll show you where the setback line is in plan in just a moment, but it runs generally kind of right here and runs right through this curved portion. So it's just 108 square feet of it fall on the buffer side of the line. And if we look at the site plan here, there you can see here's the driveway coming behind the house. The Croton buffer line is this bold line here, and here's that nose of the driveway that falls within the buffer. And this is a portion of paving that also predates when the owners bought the property. The latest survey that we had before embarking on the project was from 1988 and showed an actually much larger driveway, which you can see here in black. And so, but nevertheless, we understand that we'll need a variance to get that portion legalized, that paving that's within the buffer, because it was not documented before. So to look at the numbers really quick, we can see on our chart here that the existing coverage was just over 4,000 square feet. What we're allowed per zoning is about 2,600 square feet. So that puts us about 55% over. We're proposing a 156 net increase in coverage as the chart goes, putting us at 61% over. And then also we've removed the square footage that we were previously giving ourselves credit for. We've put that down here because of course it's undocumented. So at the end of the project, we will have removed 239 square feet and added 156. But as the zoning goes, of course, the variance would be for the 156 square feet.
Is that a basketball hoop in the buffer?
Yes, it is. And so a few things have happened during the planning board process. Even though none of the driveway is visible from the Croton Trail, and even the basketball hoop is really hard to see at different times of year. You'll see our photos are kind of from different times of year, showing from both sides of the existing screening there. But nevertheless, we're proposing some additional screening. There was one kind of opening where you could see kind of our property from the trail. And so we're kind of closing off that area with some screening to supplement the screening that's already there. And we're also removing that basketball hoop and relocating it so that it does not fall within the buffer anymore.
That's what I want to hear. Thank you.
John, just before we go, are you voting on this?
No, I'm not voting on this,
So just.
but I reserve my rights as a citizen to ask questions if I feel like.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. Just to let you know, we are, 2 of our members are on vacation, it being summer. And therefore, with John not voting, you would need all three of us to vote yes to get the variances. So you could
Right.
not win.
Yeah,
Come
we,
back next.
we had
They
sort of
have-
anticipated that. Yep.
Okay, so I'm just letting you know that, just so.
Is he feeling lucky today? Is
Yeah.
what they say, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I just want to
Yeah.
let you know that, just in fairness to you.
Yeah, we
Okay, so-
understand that. Yep.
What other questions have we got?
How do you feel about straightening out the driveway? Taking that bump out?
Oh, is that a question for me?
Yes,
Yeah.
yep.
It's not for me.
Not for us.
We'd
Yeah,
love to do it.
So this was like a really big discussion that we had with the planning board as well. This basketball hoop actually is one of the main things that attracted Danae and Jim to this house. They have two daughters that are kind of preteen age, and they play basketball every single day out there. And it was really a major amenity for them to have a place to play basketball. So it was a bit painful to have to relocate that was there when they bought the house, or to propose to relocate it now for this project. But we did find a place where you can still place it and still have some good space to play. I think if we were to remove the asphalt there, I think it would be pretty detrimental to being able to play back there. So yeah, that would be, I think it'd be a struggle. And I'm not sure if Danae's on the line to speak to that, but that's something that they really hope that they'll be able to retain as part of their enjoyment of the property.
Why would they need the bump if the basketball court's not there, hoop's not there?
Oh, the hoop will be relocated. I can show you. Just to the inside here of the line. And so yeah, so their hope is to still be able to have it kind of face in this direction so that they can still get use and proper clearance around the hoop.
So surely you're not suggesting they're shooting from behind the hoop?
No, the hoop would be facing out this way. So
Right, right, so the hoop is on the north side of the buffer, the west side of the buffer, right?
correct. No, sorry, the
Yeah.
east side of the buffer. The east side of the buffer.
Side of the buffer, right, so they're not shooting from behind the backboard.
No, so let me draw here. If we were to draw the sort of the lines, this would kind of be what you'd get, right? So here's the hoop, and it's facing sort of southeast, and that's kind of what they'd get. So yeah, I that's kind of the intent of where they're going to put it.
And so they'll be shooting from within the buffer.
No, so the buffer is all of this area here. Sorry for my chicken scratch scribbling here, but yeah, they'll be. Oh, you mean if they were here in this area?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that would still be within the buffer.
So you just, if you're over there and guarding, you just have to make sure you force the player to go to the left.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe paint the buffer line on the driveway or something. Yeah.
You know, I think it's a dangerous precedent to allow intrusion into our buffer so that people can play basketball there.
Mm.
So I'm troubled by that too.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the exercises that the planning board had us do was to do a study of the neighborhood. I guess that's over here. So we looked at this, and so we've drawn the buffer here and shaded it, and you can see they asked us to see what other structures might be within the buffer on surrounding properties. And also, this is also for the purposes of looking at the coverage, the context of the coverage in the neighborhood here. And it seems that from the experience of coming down and using this trail, it seems like there's a lot of other things that are much more intrusive than this little piece of driveway. So in some cases, there's entire structures in the buffer, and they may predate zoning.
Structures are passive. There's no one playing basketball on those structures, number one. And number two is we have the opportunity to undo something that should not have been allowed in the first place.
Well, it wasn't allowed. Right, where at being asked to legalize something that was
Right.
not put in
Okay,
there
so-
appropriately. Yes,
That's right. That's even worse.
right, yeah.
Right. And so,
Uh,
yeah, and we had this discussion too. There, I mean, there's these two properties over here. These are pools with paving associated with it and paths. And so there's a number of things. And I know that some of them maybe predate zoning as well and would also need to go through the same legalization process were they to expand. But considering
We're not
the
asking-
yeah.
You know, we're not asking them to remove a pool or take down a garage. We're just asking that basketball hoop not be put there. You got Scenic Hudson Park, which is terrific. There's a lot of recreational activities to have this village. We don't need to have a basketball hoop in a way that's going to impact on our aqueduct.
Yeah, and this was something we talked about too. It was confusing to us to hear that argument when, sorry?
We're at the zoning board. We're not at the planning board.
Oh, right. Yeah, but I mean, I think the trail as sort of this active space that people run on and walk their dogs on and things. It's it having a pair of kids playing basketball nearby doesn't seem like it would be that intrusive to the regular uses of the trail. And also, I mean, it's a little bit interesting. I mean, even if the paving isn't there, they'd still be playing basketball, right? So I don't know if it's a noise issue that you're thinking of or a visual pollution of the.
It's setting a precedent for the intrusion into the aqueduct buffer. That's
Mhm.
what it does.
That seems easily correctable.
Correct. We're not asking you to rip out a pool or take down a structure. We're just saying, don't do it so that it impacts the buffer.
By the way, for the record, I'm not voting, but the basketball hoop at 9 Bertha Place is not in the buffer.
Yeah, I have to say I'm troubled by it as well. I know it might seem like a small thing to you, but you know, if you read the code, which I'm sure you have,
Yeah.
we do treat the aqueduct buffer with great care.
Yeah.
And it's something that we have been really pretty strict, I think, on this board about enforcing. And I
Yeah.
have to tell you, and I'd like to go through other parts of your application as well, but I'd like to tell you, I'm feeling disinclined to vote in favor of letting you keep that. I just think it, you know, I understand everybody is very emotional about their home and their kids and all those other things. And I totally respect that and appreciate it and understand that they didn't put it in.
Yeah.
But that's just our job as a zoning board is
Yeah.
to really give variances when they're really necessary and
Right.
less so even when it's in the aqueduct buffer. So that's where I'm kind of sitting right now on this.
Yeah. Yeah, understood. And
I'd like you to think about that and while you're thinking about that, let's talk about coverage.
Okay.
Or actually, let's talk first about side yard setback. Are there any questions on the side yard setback?
No, and I'm less concerned because it's no more intrusive. In fact, it's less intrusive than the largest area that intrudes into it. So based on what we've done here in the past, I'm not concerned about that.
That's my inclination as well. I don't know if anybody else has feelings on that. Okay, so now let's go to coverage.
Mhm.
That's an awful lot of coverage that you already have. And 55% over that's a big number. And 61 is a bigger number.
Right.
I am troubled by the coverage. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
I'm always troubled by
Yeah.
the coverage
Yeah.
at this scale.
Yeah, Yeah.
And don't you already have a sunroom? You want to make it larger?
right. Larger. It's a sunroom addition, expansion, correct?
yeah, right.
And it's expansion.
Right.
Do you have anything to tell us about coverage that might ease your mind?
I mean, I think it's good. I think we should all be worried about coverage. And we are as well. And that's why we came in kind of with a sensitive pencil to try to make it so that we were providing a net decrease. And depending on how you look at it, we still are, but we know that by the strict definitions of the code, we're not, because again, the stone patio is undocumented. So I don't know. I don't know what might put the board at ease. I mean, I guess just looking at where the coverage is being added, where the building coverage is being added, and how it's done in areas that are already impervious largely. Not completely, but mostly. And also looking at the efforts that are being made to reduce coverage in other areas of both documented and undocumented coverage. In terms of the documented coverage that's being reduced, there's like a spur on the front pathway that wasn't necessary, and some other areas here. So yeah, I don't know. I would hope the board could see that we've made an effort to not expand into virgin ground too much and create brand new coverage, but rather converting a lot of patio coverage into building coverage. But yeah, I mean, it's a concern, and also I guess you've seen the efforts we're undertaking for stormwater management as well, and I should hope that should have some effect on how the project is looked at. That we're providing a lot of extra environmental care surrounding what's going to happen with stormwater after the project is done. But yeah, I mean, I do understand coverage is a real issue, and it's not to be taken lightly when it's added to.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Well, just one thing, I mean, removing patios and building a structures is a lot different than,
Of course, yeah,
You
it's
know,
different. It's not the same. It's
Yeah,
not
especially in a
totally the same
unlike
type
the
of
church, the church we just saw, right, that was just a 1-for-1, right? They're just redoing the same ad grade thing. Now you're giving up ad grade again, not even documented for a building structure, and you already have a sunroom there. You want to expand it. I don't know if you're going to double its size. The kitchen is another story. One likes to have a nice kitchen, but
Yeah.
I think maybe you have to go back and figure out what you really need.
Yeah, and I mean, part of that was they found themselves because of the aqueduct trail and the traffic that's on it. They don't find themselves really spending a lot of time on the patio itself, and so they were looking to convert some of it into more of a private indoor space that can be opened up, of course, but that they felt like they were getting less use out of the exterior space and wanted some of it to feel more like a little bit private with the traffic on Bertha Place and the traffic behind on the aqueduct trail. So that's kind of the intent as to why they wanted to expand it.
But this is precisely Arthur's point, right? You're taking an at-grade undocumented patio and you're expanding a room.
Oh,
Right?
yeah, sorry. That patio is documented. The only patio that's undocumented is the one over here by the garage. But yeah, continue.
Right.
Yeah. Well, listen, I will give you an option, which is we can adjourn this and you can come back next month. I'm happy to go ahead and make a motion as well. But if you would like to talk to your clients about, about the basketball hoop, about reducing coverage, if there are other ways to reduce it. But I think from both a coverage standpoint and an aqueduct buffer standpoint, I'm not feeling very comfortable with this as something that we could approve.
Okay.
And you need your, so don't forget that, right?
Right.
Wait, sorry, say that last part again.
And you need us to be unanimous, right?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so just to be clear, the driveway thing is clear. That it seems like there's real misgivings about providing that legalization on the paving and the buffer. right? So that's straightforward. I'm not sure if there's a way to just to reduce the amount that's in there or lop it off entirely. I'm not sure. We'll have to talk to the owners about that. But I don't know if you can weigh in on, would the board be amenable to us reducing it or only just by completely removing it from the buffer?
We don't give advisory opinions, but I think you can read our minds, don't you think?
Okay, and then for the coverage issue, I guess we can explore ways of a different shape to the sunroom or a different configuration somehow. But I think it'll still, I don't know that the numbers will come out that much differently, but it will contribute to what you're saying, that building coverage is more intense on the site than paving coverage is. So if we do make efforts there, I would hope that it would be understood that maybe the numbers themselves might not change that much, but that you'd be able to see our efforts to convert some of the building coverage back into paving coverage. Is that kind of the right understanding?
Look, I think you've heard all of our comments tonight. I think we've been pretty clear in the way that we're pointing you. I just would like to give you the opportunity to talk to your clients. I haven't seen the property enough. I've seen it, but I've not seen it enough to say, are there other give backs you could give? I'm not an architect, so, if there's a way you want to configure something differently or some inside space differently, I just want to give you the opportunity to go back with your clients and figure out. But I think you've heard pretty clearly that we're not fans of having things legalized in the buffer, which should never have been there. And going from 55 to 61% over on coverage just seems farther than I think we should be going.
Yeah, understood.
Okay. So why don't we adjourn this, talk to your clients, see if you can come up with something. If they want to withdraw the application, they're free to do that, but this way they don't have to renotice the neighbors and they can just come back in August.
Yeah, okay, that's most likely what we'll do.
We're not meeting until.
Oh, are we meeting in August? I'm sorry. I'm having a hard day. I'll see you in July. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
The deadline for the July meeting already came. So,
But if it's just adjourned, can't they still be on the July meeting? I think if it's adjourned, we can just kick it over 1 month. Because they don't have to go anywhere else.
they have to make it, well, I don't know. Talk.
Okay, talk to Ed, but I don't think you're getting anywhere tonight anyway, so
Yeah.
talk to Sarah, talk to the building office about how to get back on the agenda if that's what you want to do.
Okay.
Alrighty?
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Yep.
Okay, so the next case is Lechner, 4 Circle Drive.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Broda. I am the architect for the project. Forgive me for not having a video of myself here because my computer actually doesn't have a camera. So,
Okay.
but that's okay. It forgives a lot of sins that way. So I believe the clients are here. Lena and Josh Lechner are also joining me here this evening. This is probably an unusual case for you. This is a project that essentially there were previous owners. My clients bought the property a year ago and have inherited a few things that the previous owners did. The previous owner had come to you for a variance and had been granted variances for impervious surface and setback issues. They, if I can share my screen, show you what we have. Here you can see, this is a site plan of what had been previously approved. This was, as you can see here, this outline here was the original house. They put a substantial addition and garage on. As you can see here where the setback is because of the curve of the street, a good portion of the first floor and second floor were over the setbacks. And then there's an impervious surface issue. Why we're here is because the previous owners decided not to follow what they had been agreed to do, and they added a few other things that need impervious surface variance. So, and namely, those are a retaining wall of railroad ties. These two right here are about 18 inches to 24-inch high. I can understand why, because of the grading, that if you wanted to put foundational plants at the front of the house, this kind of made sense to have a little bit of a retaining wall. The other thing is because of grading over here, there was a extension of the wall here. If you see here, this wall only came to this far. Now they're adding more of it. And then they also added, this is a segmented stone wall, by the way, and this is a natural stone wall. And so they added this because they wanted to put, because they wanted to add this section here to the driveway. The previous approved plan was a straight driveway coming out to the street, and they added this big chunk over here. What we're intending to do is to take that chunk out and go back to having just one entrance. We'll curve this a little bit, but this will be just one entrance here. And because of the layout of things, we have to keep this portion of the segmented wall, and this would help us keeping that part of the wall as well. So in total, we're looking at an additional 33 square feet, 33.17 square feet of coverage from these two pieces. I'm going to, let me know if you can see this. I'm going to show you a 3D view of it. Can you see?
33.7 square feet over existing?
Not over existing, but over what was granted previously.
Right, but that's void. That was granted in 2016. That's null and void. We're not
Okay.
starting from.
Oh, we're not. Oh, I wasn't informed of that. So this permit is actually not even closed yet. The 2016 permit has not been closed
If I
yet.
may, so you had the authority to build everything that's there except for those retaining walls, well, those little walls. Correct?
Yes,
And the driveway, which was added. You're going to take
Yeah.
out the driveway. So you are authorized you're allowed everything but those little retaining walls that you told us about.
But that's not
Yes.
what the code
this
says there.
this little guy and
Yeah.
No, they haven't built it, right?
No, I think everything that you just talked about has
Oh,
already been
these-
built.
this stuff is all built. Everything, why we're here is because
Okay.
we
okay.
can't close the permit, the previous permit. We can't, the previous owners sold the property with the permit open. And we haven't been able to close it because they had increased the impervious surface. They had not counted the additional walls, and they had not counted these two little retaining walls here with the railroad ties. So those add up to the 33.17 over what was previously in
Approved.
excess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was previously approved. But we are simply saying, at this point that we're just trying to legalize what's there. And we're going to take this portion out over here so that we can have, less coverage. I know it doesn't count in the impervious surface coverage. However, it is a pretty large driveway that they had. And we're just trying to get rid of what they had and reduce some of that.
Right, but you'd like to, so part of it you sort of almost need, you're saying, and the other parts you'd like to.
Yeah, we'd like to get rid of this part, which, we can, obviously, but we'd like to keep the other parts that were done, namely part of it, especially this part over here, has to stay there because it's part of holding, if you could see this, it's holding up this grade over here.
Right.
So it's really holding up the driveway. And when they had originally planned it, I guess maybe they were going to grade a little bit differently, but for some reason it ended up this way. And so that's holding up the driveway. And at this point now, unless we were to do massive regrading of this entire area here, we have to keep this.
Right.
And the little guys, let me get out of the house here.
The railroad ties, yeah.
Yeah, it's not quite as smooth to control this software as I wish. But these little railroad ties, they do help with the plantings. Otherwise, there's actually a pretty fair slope down through here. So it makes it a little, I don't know, not quite as attractive perhaps for planting there.
Yep.
But those guys are fairly small. They're really about total 10 square feet.
And for years, I don't know when the law changed in the village, but those walls were not even covered.
No, I know.
They're
Yeah.
considered as coverage.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. But again, I recognize that if, this is something new, the thing is that the previous permit never got closed. So I'm just trying to close it for them.
Yep, I gotcha. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to approve. That is all really a pretty small ask, all things considered, especially getting rid of that much coverage, illegal though it is. It's low to the ground. It's not intrusive on any of the neighbors. In fact, I think it's gonna look a good bit better for the neighborhood. And I really don't think it's reasonable to ask you to regrade the entire property just to make the driveway work. So I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
John?
Yes.
I'll say yes.
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 Okay, you are approved.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Have a
thank
good
you.
night.
You too. Okay, our last new matter is Collins and Jones, 21 Oak Street.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you all doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So Douglas McClure for Collins Joneses at 21 Oak Street. Let me call the drawing up on my screen. All right, can you see that?
Yes, now we can. Yes.
All right, sorry, my internet might be a little slow here. So this project is expansion of the living space over an existing deck, and which is this area right here. So this area right here, and expansion of the garage a little bit to get some extra storage in there. It's one of those very tiny garages that you see in the tree streets. And the variances we need are coverage, but also that garage is in the existing front yard. So I guess we need a variance for setback for that garage, even though it already exists. Our numbers are fairly straightforward. Let me get rid of that. The existing coverage is 1709, and we're permitted 1904, and we're asking to increase it to 2017, which is 6% greater than allowable. Part of that is because of adding an additional patio in the back here, and stair access and entry pad and HVAC pad. So that's part of the additional coverage, since the most of the addition happens over an existing deck. It doesn't change that coverage that much. I know you're going to ask me why you should allow for coverage, because I've done this before. So we did an analysis of the existing, and this page printed all messed up, and I apologize for that. I don't know what happened here. But this drawing in the upper right hand was supposed to be, you can sort of see the site plan disappeared off the page. But this analysis chart tells the story. These are similar properties in the Tree Street neighborhood. The ones that are highlighted yellow are exceeding coverage, of which over half of them right now exceed coverage by much larger percentages than we're asking for.
How many of those exceed coverage based on variances, or rather than pre-existing non-conforming conditions?
That's a good question, Artie, and I'm not sure. I know, geez, I wish I had that whole chart available. Hold on one second. Let me just look something up here. I know, for instance, what street is it? You guys allowed the Cuffs property on
Oh, yeah.
Oak. I think that's 3 Oak. That one is at 100. That one was a variance that increased up to 109%.
109, okay.
Yeah. Who, when, where, when was this?
Oh, yeah, I remember this. This was, I don't remember when it was, but I certainly remember that house, yes.
And I know some of the other, I know Willow Street, at the end of Willow, which is 23, or no, 29 Willow. That was a project I was involved in. We put an addition on the back and we increased the coverage in FAR there. And I got a variance from you guys. That was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, by how much? By how much?
I don't remember how much it was increased it by, but it's 134% over allowable.
So why should we give a variance to give you more storage space on the garage?
You don't have to. You know, people have bikes. It's an empathy thing. We're not asking for something that's extreme related to the rest of the neighborhood. And that garage barely fits a car. They'd like to put a car in and they'd like to store their bikes in there. I don't think that's an unreasonable ask. But you know, it's the question for you guys to debate.
I think the way the bump out is shown, I don't know if that allows the entrance way for a car to be any larger than that, but anyway.
What? No, the bump out is for, it has a, so let me show you how that
Yeah,
works.
show this again, because
Sorry. So what we're asking for the bump out is we're putting a small door right here, so that they can bring their bikes in and store bikes and scooters in this location. The car would sit in this location.
gotcha. Any other questions? Any thoughts?
So is your coverage presently less than allowable?
Yes.
Okay.
But I mean, that was true on the Willow Street project I did, and I believe that was also true on the Oak Street project that I know you've all approved previously.
You know, I can't, it's difficult for us to discuss those with you without the facts in front of us. I hear what you're saying, but and I'm certain you're telling us exactly what the case is, but I don't have that. It's difficult for me to distinguish those, why we did it, what we did in another setting. I don't know the answer to that. How long
No,
ago?
I
Who was on-
understand, but I mean, one of the things about variances, as I understand it, is you know, is it different than the than the surrounding context? And my point is that this isn't out of line with the surrounding context. It doesn't
I think
do anything negative to the neighborhood in that way.
I think a variance for living space is one thing, a variance on a crowded lot in a crowded neighborhood, so you can store bikes and mopeds, so it becomes like a Westie storage place. I'm not in favor of that, quite frankly.
A Westie storage space. It's
I don't know.
it's
That's a
it's like
analogy.
10 by 15. It's a little slot, and
That's 100 That's 150, wait, it's 150 feet. 10
let me. I don't know. It's not that. It's not even that big. That door's
Wow.
3. It's
What you said.
Yeah, that, it doesn't look that big to me. I'll
it's
tell
not
you-
that big of space. And
Yeah.
would you
This-
rather see bikes and scooters all over the lawn or in the driveway? I mean, that's a question some people would ask as well.
Yeah, you know, I agree with just to give you my opinion, and everybody else can chime in as they wish. The house doesn't bother me at all. I don't think that that's much coverage to ask for, and I think that's very reasonable. The idea of increasing a garage that's right on the property line gives me a little pause.
Okay.
I guess almost the location of it on the property, in addition, I mean, it's coverage, obviously, but it's not a tremendous amount of coverage. There's no question about that. It's the location of it where we have to give you a second, you know, front yard setback on the property line, I guess, is what gives me any pause. Does anybody else have any thoughts about that, or?
And again, I think you said it, Sarah, it's the usage of it, right? If you're creating livable space for a family and things of that sort for their enjoyment, but to give a variance for storage space connected to a garage, I think it sets a horrible precedent.
So would you approve the project if we agreed not to do that storage space?
I don't think I have to answer that question, do I?
No, you don't have to, but I would tell you that I would, without the garage.
No,
space,
because
would-
I had discussed this
Right, you had discussed this, yeah.
I had
would,
discussed all these options with my clients, and so I could say we'll just get rid of that. If that's
Yeah.
a game, if that's going to break us getting approval right now, then I would say, okay, we'll get rid of the
Yeah,
garage
I would
space if we can
that
get approval for the
without the
rest.
garage space, I would make a motion to approve it, because for me, the house doesn't, what you're doing to the house doesn't bother me at all. And I don't think it's an unreasonable ask. I just don't love that garage space being added on the corner of the lot.
Okay,
So we're only talking minus that issue. It's only coverage that we're talking about.
Yes,
so
Yes.
let me just look at something here, because then. $52. Yeah, it lowers. I can't do the math that quickly, but that lowers our coverage 52 square feet.
okay.
And
So-
we're willing to do that.
Okay. All right, then I will make a motion to approve the coverage variance as to the construction on the main house. And you're gonna be withdrawing the accessory structure walls and modified that way, I make a motion to approve.
Just
Do I-
one question. So I know he's not
Oh,
gonna do,
sure.
you won't do the math for us so quickly, although aren't you an architect? Aren't you supposed to be doing this?
Isn't math your thing?
So,
Yeah.
so the one
Everyone,
114,
everyone says that, but architecture is a design field, not a,
I
not a
agree, you're not an
math.
engineer. You're not an engineer. I understand that. So the 114 is minus 52 would be, and I'm horrible,
62.
would be,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, 62, yeah.
And what's that percentage over? Allowable? Did you tell us?
We're reducing it by 52 or we're
Uh,
at 100?
Yeah.
Probably reducing it to 2.5%.
Yeah,
So it cuts it almost in half over. So
yeah,
your 6 points over comes out to a little bit like 3 points over,
yeah, 3.5.
correct?
Yep, about 3.5.
Something like that, yes.
That's good enough. That's a good answer,
That's
Doug.
good enough.
It's good enough.
Okay, so as amended, I make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, John? Okay, we'll start with you, Artie.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
great. All right, I will send you a letter, Doug. Thank you.
Making a note in the minutes that. the
Yes.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Have a lovely evening.
front yard setback has been withdrawn,
Yes.
right?
Yep, and I'm gonna make a note in the letter too,
Right.
that that's the case. Okay, so now we are into our continuations. Sarulnik at 19 Matheson.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you tonight?
Good, thank you.
So my name is Rad Opacic. I'm the architect for the project, 19 Matheson for Andres and Jackie Cyrilnik. We were in front of the board last month.
Right.
There was a bit of a confusion with the public notice. And one of our two variants that we were seeking was not published. So you've asked us to come back
Yep.
today to hopefully get that result.
Great.
Would you like me to take you through the project again, or is that necessary, not necessary?
So, if you don't mind,
Please,
yeah,
please.
yep.
Okay. So let's look at the site plan. Matty, can you blow it up just a little bit? I have Matty here with me who's going to help me navigate through all the drawings. All right, let me grab control of this. Okay, so basically we have we're proposing an addition. This is the existing house. There is an existing two-car garage that's attached to the house right now at this location. We are tearing that down and adding an addition that will accommodate a connection from the addition to the existing house with this, what we call a sliver, which is a kind of a glass connection. And that adds to this portion of the building, which accommodates a mudroom and a cabana that is on an axis with a patio that serves our new pool. The pool is currently, the existing pool is shown in blue. We have rotated it slightly to be perpendicular to the house. And that's our patio off the pool, again, on the axis with the cabana. Also part of the addition is a cabana bathroom that kids can use, everybody can use off the pool, and a two-car garage. We have a ramp on the side of the garage covered with a trellis that gives you access to the rear entrance of the house via a ramp for elderly access. And then as part of the garden configuration, we're creating a pool garden, which is fenced off. The red is showing a fence. all the way out to here and back to there. There are two trellis gateways into the pool, which are in access. One is here. The other one is across the way. We can show you an image of that. And this is one of the variances we're seeking. This particular one is over the building setback, and it happens to be more than 6 feet high, 6 feet high. The other one is well within the setback. Back to the garage. Here is our new driveway. That takes us out to the private street. And that's the other variance that we're seeking is for coverage. We are currently 9.7 over the allowable. And the proposed work that we're seeing here will bring us to 20.4 over the allowable.
Now, just walk me through just for a minute the history on this. You've been before us with this.
We've been before you and got approval in September of 21.
Right. And so
Um,
what are the differences between September of 21 and now?
The difference in terms of coverage is it's actually we're slightly below. I don't have that number in front of me, but like 87 square feet or something like that. But we do have I went over it last time. Let's show it to you again. Matthew, give me the 1.1A. We have a drawing that shows overlay of the previous. Okay, and this is, all right, let me grab a control again of this. Okay. There's a lot of information on this drawing, so bear with me, please. In the light red, pink, if you will, is the previous approved plan.
Okay.
So as you can see, the building is really hard to see because it basically has shifted. You see the garage edge used to be here. Now it's further out a little bit. This is pretty much where it was before. The back was here now. So it's just a slight reconfiguration of the building. The garden basically has shifted in to the left, right? You can see the hedge. Previous hedge is here, the new one is here. And the pool used to be parallel to the house. We have rotated it to be perpendicular to the house. And
But
also, the biggest impact, I think, is that we used to have a hot tub here, and now we've moved it close to the house, which I think is beneficial to the area neighbor.
Yep. Me too. So the coverage number went down slightly between September of 21 and now.
Correct.
Did we give you a variance for the fence? For some reason, I remember that was the sticking point last time.
In 21?
Yes, in 21.
Oh, yeah, no, we got both variances, yes.
You got both variances. It's more that you weren't able to, for whatever reason, go ahead with the work, and now you're coming back ready to do the work.
Correct.
And been slight changes, but the overall effect is you've moved the hot tub closer to the house, which is much better. And you've rotated the pool, which from my mind, doesn't make much of a difference, and you've reduced coverage very slightly.
Well, I think the rotating the pool is a slight benefit to the neighbor as well, because kind of the exposure is a little bit less.
Okay.
And it moves the activity kind of away from them. So I think both of those are a plus for them.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Are there any questions from anybody else on the board?
So we're at 120% of allowable coverage.
Correct.
Do you have any comps on that?
That's it. I'm sorry.
Do you have any
Oh.
comps on that for the neighboring houses?
Well, yes, if we go to T 1.2, Matthew. let's enlarge the chart. Ooh, that's really big. Okay.
No, that's good. I'm old. I need to see, I need it big.
All right, so here, you could see the neighborhood. So really, property B is really kind of off the chart because it's an undersized lot, but all the other lots are sort of similar. I think H being the closest to us, which in property area is similar. We're at 76, they're at 67. And that property is 11% versus our 9.83 that we're seeking.
Right. Yeah.
So what did we approve in 2021?
We approved everything that they did. The only differences are it's going to go down by about 87 square feet.
Right.
They're going to orient the pool so
Right.
away from the neighbor. They're
Right.
going to move the hot tub
Right.
next to the house away from the neighbor.
But for us, it's coverage is the only issue in the fence, right? Those are the only
Right.
two.
Yeah.
Between before.
Right. But I mean,
And we've
just-
already approved on the size,
right.
on the overage, so
That's what I
we
sort of
can't,
think about it.
whether we did it wrong or right,
Right,
we did it and we really couldn't go back on it.
That's kind of how I feel.
I know you said we could, but we can't. We shouldn't. Now that sounds
okay.
Are there any other questions? All right, well then I'm going to make a motion to approve, as I just sort of laid out. This is a very similar application to the one we approved, except maybe even a little bit preferable.
We must
So,
have been absent that day. I
yeah, you
suspect,
must have
right?
been. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I second.
Great. Excellent. John?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
there we go. You are approved.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Second that, so don't forget that.
Okay, and the last one is 5 Harriman's Keep. Do we have somebody on that?
There's a little bit of delay over there on that screen.
Yeah.
See that? My hands got a little delay.
Mute and start video. Good evening, Daniel O'Connor, architect, submitting for 5 Harriman's Keep. We were at a previous hearing. We're replacing in kind an existing non-documented deck. Everything was approved by the planning board, and we are presenting to your board due to the unique condition of the existing non-conforming condition of the row house, attached townhouses of the Harriman's Keep development. We're simply replacing in kind an existing deck, and it's equivalent or very similar to the neighboring decks. In our last hearing, we were asked to document the neighbors' decks and compare them. And so we added a chart to the first page of our drawings. And the owner in the last meeting also believe dropped off the property cards of the neighboring properties of 1 Harriman's Keep, 3 Harriman's Keep, and 7 Harriman's Keep, so that we can see that they're all the decks are documented on the property cards, and they're all ranging from that 260 to 550 square feet. And we're proposing to simply replace in kind an existing deck of 395 square feet. Because it's not documented, it wasn't documented, therefore we're asking for the zoning variance.
So Danny, I thought what we asked for was documentation on the legality of those decks, right? As we
Right.
pointed out at the last meeting, 7 years ago, the town sent people out to document everything that was existing. They weren't checking whether any of that stuff was legal. They showed up at people's houses and they measured everything, and that's what the new property cards are.
When he had said they were documented, I thought he meant to say that they were in fact
No,
legal.
he's saying they're on the, he's saying they're on the.
Property
property
cards.
laws, saying that they're legal.
Oh,
I didn't
But
say
they're
they're
not.
legal. I said they're on the,
bad word, you
they're
can't-
recorded
They're
on the
undocumented.
property
That's
card.
true. So when you said documented, I thought they were documented
That's
decks.
what he's saying.
But that's not what you meant. So none of the
Size of
decks
the-
are documented there.
No,
Well, do we know that for a fact?
No, we asked
No.
him to
But
find
we
out.
asked him to tell us.
That's what I thought.
Right,
Yes.
yeah.
And he doesn't have the answer because I suspect the answer is. Maybe
there are
not.
no, there are no, we did go, reviewed everything with Ed Marin, and there are no, none of them are documented.
None of them.
None of them are legal.
None, right. None of
But
them have
everybody
been,
has a deck, everybody has a deck.
That's interesting. How many units are up there? Was there like 16 units in Heritage Keep or something like that? Anybody know?
Not that many, that's just one side.
right,
They're
yeah,
So it's like
4 or
8.
5 houses.
yeah, probably right, like an upstairs, downstairs thing, so
Yeah.
probably.
So are we now prepared
Say
to
that.
document or legalize every single deck up there now with this SWIFT application? 'Cause that's what's gonna happen.
Only if they ask.
Right. Only
Of course
if
they
anybody
will.
goes.
I know.
So this decision is not just limited, in my opinion, to this deck, but to all the decks up there.
Yeah. How much
And they've all
over?
been there for over 30 years.
Right. How much over allowable coverage would you be?
Well, we are, the only change that we're proposing is 395 square feet.
Okay,
So as if you had no deck, now you're building one from scratch,
so,
right?
right.
What would you be
How much would
over
be
allowable
allowable?
and over
If we
existing?
go back to, I mean, the whole development is non-conforming according to setback requirements and side yard requirements because of the unique condition of being row houses. There-
Right, well, why don't,
So
instead of talking
technically,
about,
all the homes wouldn't be conforming either.
right, so forget the rear yard and side yard setbacks for the moment. In terms of coverage, adding 395 square feet, how much would that put you over allowable?
I'd have to go back to the. Let me just go back to the drawings 1 second.
Yeah.
So you're able to see my screen, correct?
No.
Nope.
Just you.
Just you.
And us.
Lot coverage calculations. So the primary building, right here. So let me see, based on our, so again, even the lot size, it's because it's an existing non-conforming lot. Like I said,
Well, it sounds like even without the deck, you're over.
Right. Well, I'm assuming they're over, but I'd like to know by how much. Also, if she's looked over.
like I said, if we go by what is allowable, because the lot is non-conforming, the home itself would not be allowable. So we would consider there really wouldn't be much allowable at all.
Well, I understand that, but so how much would it be over? Would it be 50% over allowable or 5% over?
How much is it over now? And
Right.
how much would it
Yeah.
additionally would it be over with the deck?
Maximum
Yeah.
allowable coverage required would be 523 square feet.
Is allowable.
The existing allowable, the existing is 1280. So we're looking at substantially more than double. And the existing undocumented, which would be the deck. So that adds, so you're talking about probably 70%. According to the what would be allowable in a conforming lot, but this is a non-conforming condition, and it's unique to the whole settlement. I mean, that therefore every house in Harriman's Keep is not is
So
over
if
there.
you're at 1280 and you add 356, I'll
Right.
try to do the math here quickly.
Right, that's just what I was gonna ask.
You're 1636 and allowable is 523.
Yes.
Gosh, that's a lot.
Right, so you're more than 200% over.
Yeah,
And everyone would be more than 200% over.
The whole Harriman's Keep is.
Yeah, I know you
I
only
mean,
hear from
I
the
would
one-
assume that at one point when they built this property, that there were already variances in place. That's what I would assume, but I don't know the history of it.
So
Someone allowed this property to be developed that with beyond the allowable square footage. So
Right, but the thing we don't know is whether or not the decks were added by the owner or by the developer.
right.
the decks were in
That
place when the owner purchased the property in 1993. And my understanding is that most of the properties had decks.
Right, but the development was completed in the 80s, was it not?
The client bought the house in 1993.
Yeah. What's that?
The homeowner. has their hand in.
Okay. Okay, why don't we hear from the homeowner?
So the house, I believe it was completed in 1978 and on 5 acres.
Hello,
Yeah.
can I?
Hello. You.
Hi.
1978.
Can I be heard? Oh, wait, I'm not sure how this works. Can you hear me?
We can hear you,
Yes, we
yes.
Oh, okay. Yes, the complex was built in 1978. It's on 5 acres. There's 16 units, 4
Yeah,
buildings, 4 units each.
Okay, great.
So, I don't know about where, Mr. O'Connor said the square footage allowed for any, like, my unit is 523 square feet. I mean, the 5 acres must come into it somehow, I guess, right? The common areas. Because I don't, like, none of the buildings have a footprint of 523 square feet. Like, the units are all, they're,
none of them have all of them. I thought he said that. Didn't you say, Mr. O'Connor, that the coverage on the house is 523?
No, I said that the allowable, according
Oh,
to
I'm sorry, you're right. You're right.
zoning district 1F-10,
Right, it was 1280.
1F-10 allows
Myself, I'm sorry.
for a
I got
lot
it.
that size, allows for 523 square feet.
So
The lot
I mean,
size
six-
is
six
an
units is a lot.
existing
It's
lot
all
of
right.
2,600 square feet.
Jane, could you just answer me a question? Is this a homeowners association, a co-op, a condominium? What's the
no,
legal structure?
we are single family attached housing. We're not a condo or a co-op.
Okay, so there's no common areas.
Yeah, no, there is, because it's on 5 acres. The complex is on 5 acres.
there's a homeowners association, I understand, correct?
Yes, there's a homeowners association. And so there's, we all have our little, like, fee simple plots, and then the rest, all the rest of the 5, the difference between our plots and the 5 acres, all that's common areas. And it's, I guess it's owned by the homeowners association or run by the homeowners association. And
Okay.
so that's why I submitted I pulled the property cards, and then I got letters from my neighbors saying they don't care, like, or they support my application, because everyone has a deck. I feel really uncomfortable about, I don't want to rat on my neighbors or anything. We all get along. I have no idea whether their decks are legal or illegal. I just know about my property, my little property. And we bought it 30 years ago, and there was a deck here. And everybody has a deck, and whether they're, you know, legal or illegal, I don't know. But when I pulled the property cards, and I know that has to do with tax assessment, but like everybody has a deck. And my deck's
Does
falling
everybody,
apart.
or does some, or almost everybody?
Pardon?
Does everybody have a deck, or
Yes,
almost everybody?
Yes, everyone has a deck.
Everyone has a deck.
So aren't we in effect being asked to change the zoning of a neighborhood?
No,
And
just
we should-
mine.
Just us internally, I'm sorry.
Oh.
So, I mean, is this really something, and we're not saying you have to take the deck out, we're not saying that. But I'm almost thinking about whether we should consult with the village attorney and or maybe the trustees, or maybe they need to do some special enactment to change the zoning to allow everybody to have their deck in this neighborhood without us doing it through a variance.
I agree with that.
Wait,
Right? That might be, do it.
but my deck's falling. Can I just do mine? Because mine's falling apart. Like I haven't, this has been, this has been in this process for 2 years. So I, you know, thinking I need to replace my deck, I haven't, I fixed it.
Second time, so.
See the
that's not-
damage, you can see the damage here. It's almost dangerous besides being
So you can remove the deck
a
and then.
situation
wait
where
till-
we're looking to repair an existing deck. And we've been through planning, we've been through architectural, and now we're doing zoning, and it seems like we're starting from scratch again.
I mean,
No.
I don't really feel like I have any say on my neighbor's property. We're separate. It's single family attached housing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I want to do it right for myself.
Everybody's trying to do the right thing here.
Right, no.
As are we.
As are we.
Yeah, I get that. And I understand you have to see the bigger picture in the neighborhood, but I mean, I think I could go ahead if I get, you know, if I get permission to fix and rebuild my deck, the issue is going to be the same still, right? For everyone else. I mean, I don't think I don't think there's any precedential value to me, like being granted a variance, I guess is what I'm saying, because
Well, except the next applicant will come in and say, well, here's a property that has a variance.
Yeah, there is a
Which is
precedential.
what we asked Danny to find out, if there was another property that had a variance.
We just want to do this the right way. We're not saying that we're not
Yeah.
gonna, not gonna get your deck, but I think this is something we really have to speak with the village attorney about, I think. I mean, it's just the,
Yeah, what do you think, John?
I think we probably do, but I'm sort of uncomfortable because the deck that's there really needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
And in terms of the overall neighborhood, the deck as it stands is a detriment to the neighborhood. And if we don't grant the
Right,
variance, then
it's
that,
falling apart.
so I'm not disagreeing about, I'm not sure how I think about having to. get
well,
to do the whole-
I haven't done a structural analysis of the deck, so I hear what you're saying, but I'm not so convinced it's gonna fall.
Yeah,
What is it, a
and-
foot?
I'm not talking about something falling, I'm talking about the appearance. The deck looks like it needs to be
And it's
replaced.
like that probably for the last couple of years. So I think this is a more, I'm not prepared to approve this. That's for certain. You can do what you want on the vote. But this should be really a bigger picture. This is a neighborhood change. And I think the trustees, or at least the village attorney should give us some guidance on this, on how the trustees want to go forward.
The other decks of records that we found, literally across the street, have repaired their decks with a simple architectural board review. And there, when we started this project, and the client in the best intentions, the homeowner in the best intentions, thought that that's what we were doing. As an architect, that's what we all assumed, that we were going to file, to do everything by the book properly, get an architectural permit to replace a few boards, but everything documented, everything drawn up, and everything to code. This snowballed into a planning review that went on for over a year, and now we're at a zoning board. And we're still looking to replace a few boards. There are not going to be many boards left by the time we finish on this thing.
No, listen, I understand, and I certainly get the frustration. So other neighbors have replaced the decks and been before the ARB and it didn't get referred to zoning?
I have one example. I don't have the,
They have building permits.
Jane, which is Amra's address? I forgot right now, but that was a simple architectural board review and it was several years ago, but it was probably 10 years ago, I would say.
I think it's
Jane,
like
do you remember?
14. No, I don't know if it's number 12 or number 14. But
I don't have my.
what,
the
you know what
records in front.
worries me the most is that there's no record of any deck, say at this place, but with the Department of Buildings, but there was a deck here when we bought it. And also in one of the documents I attached from 1978, I don't know what this with the property cards, there's an indication that that in November of 1978, there's a drawing with a little deck on it from 1978 on the sales data. So I don't understand why there's like absolutely no record of any deck with the Department of Buildings.
Put in by the builder.
Well, in which case they would be in the offering plan. Right, if it's, right?
Yeah.
Does anybody have the offering plan?
I can dig it up somewhere, but from 1978.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, but you know, with the I don't know if you have the documents I submitted. I
Well, as
guess
you're suggesting, if
and
they're
the-
part of an approved subdivision plan, then they're approved, right?
Right.
Question for the other members. Do we have any sense of how quickly we could get the village board to act on this? I have no idea
No.
what's involved. I've never had to
No,
deal with
you know, you
it.
could talk to Mary Ann tomorrow. That's not a problem.
Yeah,
But it would be a while.
yeah.
I mean, that is my best guess, right? It would be a while.
Again, it's totally out of our hands, but you would think, you know, citizens of the village have a problem. There's 16 homeowners. They need some kind of a special something from the town trustees. Let them do it in a month.
Yeah,
That's up to them. We don't have any control over
but we
them.
don't have any control.
No, I
Yeah.
understand. A month doesn't bother me. 6 months bothers me.
But that's
Right.
their elected officials that we know. They appoint us. We don't appoint them.
Right.
But we vote for them.
Yes, we do.
We're only four.
All four of us.
in a business where we've actually had a tie election.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm sort of at a loss as to what to do here because I don't particularly want you to get voted down tonight. You need 3 out of the 4 of us, and I don't know that you have.
But I would think, Ms. Chairperson,
Yeah,
that you can write not, I mean, it's a small village. You're not going to write a strong letter, but
right.
you can let the attorney know that I think we all agree with this. This has got to be dealt with quickly for
It could certainly, if we maybe adjourned you, which I hate to do, but it's better than getting marked off the calendar. If we adjourn this to next month, I mean, I would jump on this tomorrow and get the village attorney involved and get and she, I think, could give me a realistic idea of how long this would take.
I mean, we would advocate for you, quite frankly. I think,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. And then
right, I'll
hopefully
take the
we get to
7,
bed in July with done the right way.
I take the 7:12 train in the morning and Brian's always on it, so I'll catch him tomorrow morning.
Okay. Yeah, I
Seriously,
think,
meaning the mayor.
yeah, I mean, I think it would be insane to tell you you can't have a deck when there's 15 other units with decks.
Right,
I
right.
just don't think we can do that. But this is essentially rezoning that property.
So ideally, if the
All
trustees.
the outdoor
approve-
space they have, I mean, it's.
Right, well, that's the other point. If the trustees, if we could get through to the trustees to rezone this, you wouldn't have to come back. You could just go ahead.
My question
let-
as a professional, at one point, someone approved this development under unique variances, I would assume, that should be in place already.
Yeah, I
Do
mean-
we know that for a fact? I don't know. that we
Right,
know
that's
that
why
for a
we're
fact.
saying, like, if you had an offering plan that showed decks on, that we would assume those were approved, but,
Yeah.
you know, I was 8 years old when these were built, so I can't answer that question.
Stop it. You want not.
It was a lot older than that.
I can't answer that.
But it is about that age, I
We can
think.
add, we can add that
fact-
this that
But
there,
Danny, it's also possible that it was built and the zoning changed.
Right.
And the zoning changed after it was built.
and if I can add that these decks are not visible from anybody else except their neighbors, in a sense that Jane can see their direct neighbor's deck, but there's no other homes or aqueducts or buffer zones anywhere close or on the rear of these homes. So even aesthetically, they're not disturbing anyone except for the squirrels. I mean, it's not. There's no visual impact on anyone except for the adjacent neighbors that all have the same condition.
Wait, so I'm sorry to interrupt, but just so I can understand the process, the trustees, like in a month, they can just on their own rezone the whole Harriman's Keep?
In a month, we have no idea.
Oh,
I have
maybe
no
not,
idea.
maybe not in a month, but
Right.
We don't speak for the trustees.
I mean, look, what again, I totally get the frustration here, and I appreciate you going about this in the right way, and certainly don't want to punish you for that. So let me adjourn this. I will talk to the village attorney tomorrow and get an idea. And if she says, sure, it'll take 1.5 years, then I think we have a much different decision to make the next time around. In my
Owner
opinion.
has been punished. Has been punished.
No, I know, and
we've been carrying this cross for 2 years now.
No, I really appreciate that. I do. And I would hate to, if we had more information last time, we would have understood better what we're dealing with. But I think Artie and Charlie are sort of getting at something, which is that we need to thread the needle here between trying to do it the right way. But if the right way is going to take too long, then maybe that affects our decision.
And listen, I think we're going to make the calls and we're going to help to try to push this for you,
Yeah.
quite honestly.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Thank
that very much. Thank you.
No, I thank you. We will see you next month and we will have an answer, but one way or the other, I think.
And then all your neighbors will thank you, okay?
Yes,
All your
yes,
neighbors will thank
exactly.
Or that, or they'll hate me.
No,
That's
no,
true.
no.
That's the other side of that.
Yeah, it's always
But they will.
the risk.
All right, thank you.
Um,
very much.
No, thank you. We appreciate your patience and understanding on this.
Thank you.
So I think that's that.
Yes.
Cool.
We are adjourned. Thank you.